What is the difference between a warm mix and a muddy mix? Both of them probably have an emphasis on strong lows and lower mids, and maybe also soft upper mids and high end. But why do we perceive mixes as warm instead of muddy or instead of cold? In this video, we will look at 3 common features that most warm sounding mixes have. So let's start with feature number 1. The key elements are warm sounding. So first of all, what is a warm sound? You might get a lot of different answers if you ask around, but I will present my view. A warm sound is well balanced without harsh or cold edges, with an emphasis on the lows and lower mids. And the lower mids is a very important area for warmth. If we remove too much in that area, then it's common to perceive the sound as being thin or being cold. Especially the human voice can sound thin and unnatural if there's not enough support in the lower mids. But many instruments have lots of energy in the lower mids. This is where you will often find the fundamental frequencies or lower harmonics. So this area can be quite crowded and muddy sounding. When adding several instruments and voices together, there is sort of a low mids budget that every element of the mix will spend a little bit of. In a warm sounding mix, the low mids budget is generally a bit bigger overall, but you will still need to prioritize. So listen to how the different elements of the mix sound compared to each other. The ears are naturally drawn to the lead vocals and other key elements, and if these sound warm and well balanced in the context of the mix, then we will usually perceive the mix as being warm as well. If the other elements overpower and obscure the main elements in the lower mids, then the mix will instead be perceived as muddy. So let's look at feature number 2 of warm sounding mixes. There are no prominent cold sounding elements. So what is a cold sound? And again, you will probably get many different answers to this question, but for me, a cold sound has more focus on the upper frequencies, often with a metallic or glassy character. And we are especially sensitive to the sound of the human voice, so if there is loud sibilance, like strong S sounds, or overly loud consonants or strong upper mid resonances, then the vocal sound will often be perceived as harsh or cold or nasal or thin. And if the lead vocals have any of these qualities, then the mix will often be perceived as cold as well. And the same goes for any element of the mix. And then we have feature number 3. The transients are clear and balanced. The upper mids is an important area for clarity and presence, and too little energy in this area will often make the mix sound muddy or distant. And in a warm sounding mix, there is usually a limited budget available here before the mix starts sounding harsh or cold. So we will need to prioritize, and just as with the lower mids, the key elements of the mix will need to have priority in the upper mids as well. And one thing that can make any mix sound harsh or cold is when there are loud, sustained sounds in the upper mids. Sustained sounds in this area can be things like resonances or strong upper harmonics from vocals and instruments. And if these are too strong and mask any important transient sounds, then the mix can both sound muddy and cold at the same time. A warm sounding mix will often have more transient sounds rather than sustained sounds in this area. And examples of transients in the upper mids can be consonants from the vocals or drum hits or the attack part of the sound from tonal instruments. And if the transients of the key elements are clear but not too loud or not too harsh sounding, then the mix will usually sound great. But if the transients are obscured or buried within the mix, then the mix will usually be perceived as muddy. So these are 3 common traits for warm sounding mixes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.